You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, certified life coach Michelle Arnold Bourque. In today's episode, I'm discussing personal creation from overproduction to expansion.
Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place.
Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, today we are diving into one of the most powerful truths that I have come to embrace. You are always creating. Whether it's with intention or by default, you are the author of your life. And that, my friend, is great news. So let's explore what it really means to move from overproduction to creativity, and from obligation to agency, and from reacting to consciously responding, because that is the shift. That is where the magic lives. Now, let's get started talking about how you are the creator. And I want to start by saying we are all creatives at some level, right? Even if you don't identify as an artist, for example, if you've built a career, you've raised a family, you figured out how to juggle, 19 browser tabs of life, and maybe on your actual laptop too. If I'm looking at mine and being honest, it still has about 1900, give or take, tabs open. You are the creative. But here's the rub. So many high-achieving women, especially those of us in sales, healthcare, corporate, are overproducing, not creating. I want you to really think about that because we're outputting constantly, right? Emails, strategies, follow-ups, reports, meetings, taking care of clients, taking care of patients, and yet, deep down, there's that whisper, right? That we're not quite feeling fully nourished. Why is that? Because productivity is not the same as creativity. And happiness, that lives in creation. And don't get me wrong, I love a good list with the checks and the crossouts and feeling like I have accomplished something. But when you really think about it, when you're really in the flow of things and everything feels like it is spot on, that is usually when you are creating, when you're truly creating, not just reacting, not just completing tasks. That's when you feel most alive. Think about it. The caterpillar, right, does not force the butterfly into being. It dissolves, it becomes goo, and then lets something new emerge. I know, maybe not the best visual to think of, but you get the point, right? There is that time of slowing down, and it can be deeply uncomfortable, especially if we're used to going and being busy. But it's also wildly expansive. It is what will bring you to the next spiral of growth. And I want to talk a little bit now about kind of the neuroscience behind it, some of the universal laws that I'm totally digging, and future creation. And I want to talk about why it does feel so kind of uncomfortable and hard, because we can look at both neuroscience and universal law to teach us about true personal agency. Personal agency. I don't think enough of us give ourselves credit for how much agency we have in our lives and really stepping into that power. Because here's the thing, we often output it or outsource it to others, right? If we're feeling angry, mad, sad, whatever it is, oftentimes we blame it on the job, the boss, the significant other. But the truth is, it always comes back to how we are reacting to the circumstances in our life. And your brain, let's say you're kind of feeling like you're in that stuck loop, right? Where you feel like I'm going, all of this, and I just feel like there's something missing. Here's the reason. Most people live 95% of their day from the subconscious, from habits. And not just physical habits, but mental ones. We talk about habits, right? We talk about implementing small changes over time, but our thinking is also a habit. And if you keep thinking the same thoughts, you'll keep triggering the same feelings. And if you keep feeling the same way, you keep acting the same way. And guess what? That is the loop that creates your reality. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches this. I love his work. Totally check him out if this resonates with you. He teaches your personality creates your personal reality. Think about that. Your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So if we keep thinking from the past and feeling from the past, we just recreate the past. But what if instead of reacting from your memory, right, like looking towards the past for any evidence of what's possible, instead you could create from your vision? What if you thought like your future self would think, felt how she would feel, and made decisions like she already knew it was happening? It's a totally different shift of your thinking, right? Instead of thinking of your past self. And if you want to think of your past self, here's where I would suggest you go there. You think about how far you've come. You give her credit for all of the work she's done. And now think to your future in order to get to that next level. That's when you begin to access the quantum possibility instead of just predictable outcomes. And it's also not about faking positivity. It's about familiarizing your nervous system with a new future before it arrives. You will be stuck, right? There's a couple of different ways we can look at this. We can be stuck because we're thinking from the past, feeling from the past, and doing from the past. But if you do not give yourself the time to really settle your nervous system to feel comfortable with making that next leap, that's when you also might stay in a similar spiral. So that's going to be the work that you have to do, right? Because yes, it is going to be uncomfortable. And yes, you can do the work to calm your nervous system. It doesn't mean that you stop doing it. It just means that you take on new tools and you work in a different way in order to get to the next level. And when you combine that with emotion, that's when your body believes it is real and your energy shifts. So we're talking about energy here. I think this is a great time to kind of touch upon some of the universal laws that support this work. And I want to have you think about the law of attraction. And all of you, listen, these universal laws are not like woo-woo. It's like the law of gravity. Like it is there, it exists. So the law of attraction is that you attract what you consistently focus on, but more importantly, what you feel. So think about that. When you are thinking about your future self and about how she will feel, I want you to start focusing on how you can feel that right now. There's also the law of vibration, and that is emotion is the energy signature that calls things to you, and your frequency becomes your magnet, kind of plays in line with the law of attraction, right? Again, we're going back to the importance of what it is you're feeling. And let me just take a moment here to pause because the reason that it is important for you to think about how you feel is that is the reason we do everything in life. We do things based on how we feel or how we think we will feel. Or if we're not feeling super strong about something, right? Or we're just not, let's think of overwhelmed, right? We don't do anything because we're like, I don't know where to start. There's so many things to do. You need to pay attention and create on purpose what feelings you want. And the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, well, that is the energy is always shifting and you are always participating in that shift through thought and intention. So they all are kind of partners, right? We talk about the law of attraction, paying attention to how you feel. The law of vibration, emotion, right? Emotion is energy in motion. So we want to really pay attention to our frequency and have that be a magnet to what we want to attract more of. And then looking at how it is that we can shift all of that, our feelings, our energy, through intentional thinking. And when you change your inner state, your external world responds. Did you hear that? I'm going to say it again because I think it's so important. When you change your inner state, your external world responds. Oftentimes, we want the external world to change in order for us to feel better. What I am suggesting is that we do the work first. You are the leader. We lead. We will change our inner state. And I promise your external world responds. Now, let's talk a little bit about visualization and the invisible blueprint. Doesn't that sound so fun? The truth is, everything is already here. Any desire that you have, any wish, like it is all here. It is our job to start paying attention to finding evidence for these new beliefs that we want in order to create our future self. And it is one of the most powerful tools that you can use, visualization. Not the wishful thinking kind, but the deliberate, emotionally backed kind, right? We've already talked about the importance of feelings, so I want this to be emotionally backed. Here's what science shows. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined future and reality. The same neural circuits light up. You're training your brain and your body for what is possible when you begin doing visualization. So you're basically rehearsing success, right? You're rehearsing confidence. Maybe you're rehearsing being calm before they even arrive. I am totally digging the book, Your Invisible Power. In it, the author says your mental picture is the force of attraction, which brings your desire to you. It's a super short book, by the way. My friend Rhonda said, I believe you can also search it on YouTube and kind of just listen to it. Super short, quick read. I'm actually going back and rereading it a few times. In it, the author also teaches that your imagination, when paired with belief and emotional intensity, is a divine instrument. Again, we're talking about the importance of not only just saying what it is you want, you need to believe what it is you want, and you need to believe that you are worthy of getting it. And then you have the emotional intensity also paired with it, right? That is the divine instrument. And it's not just like a nice to have, it truly is the blueprint for your future. And research backs this up, right? Visualization increases the likelihood of success by up to 30%, especially when you're not only imagining the outcome, but also the process. And I want to take a moment to think about this. When I say imagine the process, I don't want you to get confused with thinking that you have to know the how every step of the way. I want you to think about that future self. What is the goal? How do you want to feel? What will you do today? One action, feeling today, what you think she's going to feel. So you do not need to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way up, right? You just need to know what is the one step today that you are going to take feeling that way. And think about this as instead of just like picturing having the thing, I want you to think about picturing yourself becoming the version of you who has it, right? This is identity work. This is where change happens. Picture her waking up, walking into the meeting, maybe hosting a lunch and learn or a workshop, maybe setting a boundary, feeling how she feels. And then again, practice it now. Your job is to see it, to feel it, and to move as if it is already on the way. And that is where your power is, right? It's in the moment. So how can you make this maybe even a little bit more practical? I will give you a couple of questions. Of course, take everything that I've already said here, right? I always want you to take what lands, leave what doesn't, and implement it in a way that works for you. So here's another idea. Start by asking yourself, what is one thought that I can let go of today that keeps me in the past? What is one thought I can let go of, right? That's sometimes where we have the best quantum leaps is when we start unlearning what we've been told and repatterning our life in a different way. Another question, what is one future-based feeling that I can begin practicing now? That's a lot of what I've talked about, right? How do you think you're going to feel? Start practicing it now. And then what is one small thing that I can create that moves me from output to expansion? Think about that. Even when I think of like output, I think of like factory, like next, very like machine-like and I don't know, not fun. But when you think about expansion, think about all that can be done. Think about what that looks like for you. Oh my gosh, it seems like so much more fun. So maybe it could even be setting a new boundary. Maybe it's blocking some creative time in your calendar instead of just getting ahead. I like to also call this white space. And listen, I talk about this. I am right here with you. Sometimes it is hard for me to just sit and think, right? As much as we overthink, isn't it funny? A lot of us are overthinkers. And yet, when we want to just take a moment to clear some space and think about what could be possible, what is in the realm of potentiality, then we all of a sudden feel like we can't just take the time to think. Take that time. Imagine. Ask yourself, what if this works out even better than I thought it could? Remember, nothing that you see is fixed. Your brain and your life are malleable. You are not stuck, right? You are just conditioned. So let's kind of bring it back to the browser tab metaphor. Most of us have too many tabs open, not just tasks, but stories, roles, outdated patterns, things that we've taken from our family. You don't need to close all of them at once, but you do get to decide which one you want to bring to the front. Which one do you want to focus on? And when you create from the future instead of reacting from the past, you stop chasing productivity, busyness, the badge of honor, and then you start stepping into possibility. And what I want for you, even more than that, is that you step into the realm of infinite potentiality, not just what's possible, even more than that. So today, I am inviting you to create something small. Maybe it's a new thought. Maybe it's a new picture in your mind. Maybe it's a new habit, a new feeling. Because when you're able to do that, when you feel your future now, you are able to pull it closer. Like if you have the desire, it is possible. That little whisper that you hear, that is your soul telling you to start doing that. It's in your realm. It's now just your job to activate the reticular activating system and find all of the evidence for how it's going to look today. Now listen, I have a favor also. If this resonated with you, share the episode with a friend. We need to have more women creating a life that they most enjoy. And I promise the ripple effect will be amazing. If you have the time, which you do, it's your time, could you leave a review, right? It also helps more women hear this message. 5 stars, quick review, help find this message for more women who need to hear it. And of course, download the free priority playbook at michelleburkecoaching.com/playbook if you have not already gotten it, because it really is designed to help you prioritize your life, really look at what it is that you want to create, and start making those decisions based on your future self, not the ideas that you've inherited from the past. Your most joyful life is the one that you get to choose to imagine, and then you get to live into it because it is your time, right? It is your time to remember who you are. It is your time to take your power back. It is your time to create on purpose. Let's do more of that. Okay, that's what I have for you this week. Let's meet back here next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care.
Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.